making the jury is, a huge milestone in the game because it, is a renewed sense of power, something I didn't really have a whole lot of in my game. So it's definitely a huge responsibility, and it's, something that I think all of us, really value the place in the, choice that we have. So for me, it was a milestone to get here. It was something I really wanted to do to, be in the game that much more and to really have the influence, with other jury members on who could win this game. I think Dominic, he's a huge hard worker. I mean, you can tell that is something that just translated directly from his daily life. I always judge a player kind of just starting from the everything that Survivor entails. Like, before I get into who they are as a person or socially, just how they were in the game. And he was always, kind of keeping camp together, and that's why we always called him Daddy Dom, is because he really gave that family-like atmosphere. He was always putting work in, always providing for everybody, and that's something that, is often overlooked because that does take a lot of work. He's a big personality. He loves to be the voice heard, or the one, leading or talking, and he loves to, kind of be the center of attention. And he's a great guy for it. He's a really interesting guy. He's funny. He's likable, and he played a amazing social game. Something that, you really couldn't say about everybody out here. The fact that he was always talking with everybody one-on-one and kind of checking in, whether he was working with them or not, that's what really made him stand out from a lot of the other players. And maybe that's just who he is as a person, but I definitely think part of that was strategic, and he was, thinking about the jury well, or way earlier than a lot of people were. And game respect game, I really respect that about him, whether it was a whole strategic move or whether that's just how he kind of is personally. But besides that, he's a strong guy. He's a family man. That was his motivation out here, and it's something I admire, because I think we're all doing it for somebody. That's what gets us through this game. And great competitor in challenges. I knew votes before, the final three, that he was going to get to the end, just because you could see how he had, made these relationships, and how he had set everything up, and how he had, gotten these idols, but, held on to him long enough to where, he had set himself up really for the long haul. I don't know. It's just something that I can look back now, being out of the game, and really respect his game in entirety from start to finish. Laurel is definitely, more of the under the radar type of player. She's somebody that, I started the game with, and somebody that I was aligned with from day one. It was me, her, and Brendan as a trio. And as the game kept moving, I could just see that she was the type of person that people underestimated, or they almost just counted her out. And I even did it myself. I just sometimes thought, oh, Laurel's a vote, or, I wouldn't even really think of her sometimes. And now seeing her in the final three, it all kind of makes sense, and it's something that I can respect, from a game standpoint, just that she was able to kind of, go through the entire game, not having that huge target on her back. Laurel might not get the credit that she deserves, and that's, something that I'm thinking about tonight. I want, her to get credit where credit is due, and I think that, I can relate to her game a whole lot more, because I was a Malolo. I was never on the right side of the numbers, just like she was. Laurel was on 4 tribes. She was on Malolo, then Naviti, then Yanuya, and then Levita. So she's been all around the board, something that Wendell or Dom has not done. So I respect her for, sticking it out through all the swaps and all the different groups of people that she had to align with or to get along with. And her game was not the powerful, kingpin leadership, power move position, but you can't have all those players in a game. So, I have to look at Laurel's game differently than, say, Dom or Wendell, because she took a whole different approach to get to the end. And maybe she wouldn't have if she had been in power positions, but the fact that she was always on the wrong side of the numbers and she was able to get through every single vote, especially without, having idols or things like that, it's something I can respect. And I think that that's so much easier to view her game as a coattail riding type of gameplay, because she never really was in the position where she could influence, or pick essentially who was going to go home, and she wasn't able to set herself up for the perfect jury or whatever, but she did all she could do to get to the end. And I think a lot of people on the jury might see her as just kind of being under Wendell's wing the entire game, but in my eyes I see her as being loyal to Wendell, and voting with him and sticking beside them and playing both sides of the vote every single time. She had me fooled. She was with me a couple of times. She was always playing both sides, and yes, she did stick with Wendell for most of the way, but I think that she saw that that was the best, maybe the easier route to get to the end. She didn't take the risks that she could have to try and separate the guys, and that's one issue that I'd like to address with her, is why she didn't make a move earlier. But then again, it got her to the end, and she still has a good resume. She's won challenges. She's a freaking beast, one of the strongest women out here, and competed hard. So I think that she was, she did play a sneaky game, and it's hard for somebody to play like that and play under the radar and then get the credit that they deserve at the end of the game, because a lot of people maybe won't take the time to think about the game she played, or it's just not so right in your face like Dominic's game, where they would give her the credit that she deserves. Wendell's a very strong player, and I think that what makes him so unique is to be such a strong player without being so kind of in your face and overbearing and almost paranoid, and he just kind of has this calm, reserved aura to him. It's almost like that saying, you can work really hard or you can work smart, and I think that that's where the division between Dominic and Wendell are for me. Is Dominic was 0 to 100 every single day, giving it blood, sweat, and tears all the time. Wendell was doing the same, but he didn't have to work so hard. He didn't have to, maybe stay up at night and, be running all these scenarios. He just did it smart, and he was able to kind of make a decision, and it was almost like he just had good intuition. It's like he knew what was the smartest move, and he didn't get paranoid. He didn't think about all these other options that he had on the table, because it was pretty plain and clear for him. I think that Wendell definitely, he put his work in around camp. I mean, he made our whole place like a resort. It was like a hotel. And coming into the merge, from Malolo, I was like just, shocked at everything that he had done and everything he kept doing, around there. So just as a fan, seeing his camp life, and all the effort and stuff he put in to that was, really, really cool for me. Something I respect about him as a person too, just that he was being so caring and considerate, and he wanted to, take care of everybody, make everybody comfortable, but then again, he was kind of always doing that stuff and always working around camp and always working on jewelry or, whatever it was. It like almost seemed to me like, dude, are you even playing the game really? And I think that the more I think about it, it was so strategic in that people were kind of like, oh yeah, he's just off doing jewelry, not really even playing the game or thinking about it. But then each and every vote, it's like when I would be strategizing with people, or when anybody would talk about who's going to go home, they'd kind of always say, oh yeah, let me have a conversation with Wendell. Let me go check with Wendell. It was like, he was the godfather, and everybody had to go get his permission to do things. And like, he was always the decision maker, and he had his, troops or his pawns, and, he had them out working for him while he was just sitting collecting the checks every day. And it's something that, you can look at him like a survivor businessman. He just had everybody else doing the hard work, and then he would make the final decision, and that decided his fate in the game and the fate of his, company. So part of me, just since I'm so impressed, like, I don't know. I guess that's what it is. I'm so impressed at the game that he's played. You know, it really, I don't want to say he's going to get my vote, but it really makes me think, you know, about him and Dom, who's really playing the better game. I think for me and my decision tonight, it's individual for each person. I think that for Dominic, I want to maybe see his vulnerable side. I want to see him let his guards down, apologize, you know, to the people that need apologies. I want to see him kind of own up maybe some of the bad or cruel things he did, maybe some of the bullying, some of the you know, manipulation that was unnecessary. I think if he's able to, you know, kind of put the context simply within the game and you know, really explain why he did what he did, then you know, he could get my vote tonight. I think that if Wendell's able to make sense of how he was the mastermind behind all the moves and not Dominic, because Dominic is such an outward player and kind of always the one people saw making the moves. I think if Wendell's really able to, you know, show how he was the one that was the deciding factor and he was the one with the ideas and he was the one that did the plan, and then he just had Dom out running, you know, doing all the dirty work for him, you know, then he could get my vote. I think that they've both played very good games in all other aspects of Survivor. It really comes down to, you know, the decision making and where the power truly lied, even over the social game, just because they had different approaches. So to see him kind of be able to put his best foot forward and show how he played a better game than, you know, Laurel and Dominic is what will influence my vote tonight for him. And then Laurel, I want to see her verbalize, you know, the reasons why she stuck with Dom and Wendell, and I want to see her explain, you know, the struggles she's faced in this game and how she was able to get by them. And I want to see her almost get aggressive. I want to see her fight for it, because I feel like she's kind of sat and let things happen to her and, you know, let the wind take her, and she's just kind of been holding on and not trying to, you know, climb forward. And I want to see her, you know, kind of have some fire in her. And I want to see her, you know, just really fight for her chance to win, because she knows she might be a little bit of a leg down because she played a safer game. She got drug along more. But I think that she could very well make a case on why she's played a better game. I think she's got a shot at it. And I think it really all comes down to the way that she's able to, you know, put it into words for all of us to hear tonight. So I really, going into tonight's Tribal, I'm not decided yet. I won't be decided until I really hear out everybody. I think that's the best way for any jury member to be, and I hope that's the way everybody else is going into Tribal tonight. And, you know, ultimately, I think that all the, you know, digging we can do and all the truth that we can find is going to, you know, sway all of our votes tonight. And nothing's set in stone for me.